Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people. In today's episode, entitled client thinks that everything can be solved by talking to the supervisor. No, your cane is actually in my space. I'm in a wheelchair. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled client thinks that everything can be solved by talking to the supervisor. For a little more context, I work as a receptionist at a medical clinic and it is not my job of choice. Even though I don't love my job, I take it seriously, as other people's health is not a joke. In addition to having the job policy of doing the best job possible at the moment, having to correct later what is much more work. I have seen many clients who are rude or disrespectful, including an elderly lady trying to beat my coworker using a cane, which became the unit's internal joke for the month. In another day's work, a client arrives with 3 pages of exams to take, big but not the biggest I've ever seen, and as always I added each exam to the system. Keep in mind that it is not the only step in the work, it is still necessary in some medical plans to make additional requests and add each individual code back to the health insurance system. As the client was on the phone, the first part was very quiet, but when she finished the call she started complaining and insisted on being in a very loud tone for the whole place to hear, talking about how long I was taking and how much time she needed too much to be there. As professionally as possible, I said what I was doing. The most delayed part, I was attaching the order to a fixed agreement and waiting for the return. The client asked to speak to my supervisor, who was already coming to see what had happened. My supervisor knows this type of client very well, and he knows that it is not possible to do all the procedures by magic. With all the professional words he explained to the client. The client did not accept what my supervisor said and demanded that my supervisor substitute me for opening the record. My supervisor, being responsible for the area, had to resolve the situation. Now comes the part that the client does not know. All the forms have to be opened at the login of who was making the request, and I was no longer responsible. With a big smile I erased everything I spent almost 2 hours doing, and bonus, I had to cancel the request for medical insurance. Good luck having to wait another 2 hours for a completed medical record to be done again, in addition to the time after the exams are approved in the health insurance. P.S. I am studying English, and if I have misspellings please let me know. Oh, that's brilliant. The fun you can have when it backfires on an entitled person, and all you can say is, well, I'm following your request of it not being me. Unfortunately for you I have to delete all that I've submitted so far. So if the person who made the initial request drops dead, all their work has to be redone? Your English is great. Just substitute context for contest in the first para. No, your cane is actually in my space. Boarded a flight the other day and saw the aisle was occupied by an older lady. We let her know we had the middle and window and she glared a little. I said cheerfully, at least you'll get this out of the way since we boarded fairly early. So she stands up and barely moves enough for us to smush by, even though no one else was on the plane yet and there was plenty of room. So I start to sit and notice her cane. The entire top handle of it is on the floor in my space and under the front of my seat with just the end under hers. My bag would have been on top of part of it and my feet would have to be arranged around it. I offered to hand it to my spouse to put up in the bin. No, it's fine, it's under my seat, she replied. I said, cheerfully again, actually, it's under my seat, it's got to move. Another glare. Stare down. She sees I'm not going to budge, sighs, and agrees to allow it to be put in the bin. Makes me wonder how often that move works for her. As a fun side note, I spent the next hour staring at the used dirty medical tape someone else had stuck to the back of the seat in front of me, until the flight attendant finally removed it and brought me alcohol wipes to disinfect the seat. Flying is such a thorough displeasure thanks to other travelers. Here's the thing about that cane. Flight attendants will take that cane or put it in the overhead bins. But here's the thing. If you need pre-boarding and a mobility aid, chances are high you'll need it to get to the restroom too. Makes taking the cane away sort of problematic. But she needed to keep it with her, not in your space. There are canes that fold up and can fit beneath the seat in front. Fortunately, plain aisles are like 3 inches wide, so she'd have plenty to grab onto to steady herself without it. Flight attendant almost was one if you and the cotton top got into a dust-up. That's funny, I'll leave it. I think the title fits them sometimes. I use a cane that folds and fits in my handbag on flights. Take it out another end, quick shake and good to go. So much better than making people trip over it. I'm in a wheelchair. Okay, as stated, I'm in a wheelchair, can't even stand let alone anything else. So anyway, on to my story. Couple of years ago, I had to send some Christmas cards, because there were a few in a bigger envelope. They had to be weighed rather than just posted in the outside box, to my family who live overseas. My hubby was gonna do it, but I thought I'd do him a favor and take them myself. He had other things to do. So I get to post office and take a look at the queue, inwardly thinking, oh yay, this is gonna take a while, yippee. So I take my place in the queue and wait for my turn. The next thing I know, a lady walks in with a big box. Side note, she didn't seem like she was struggling under the weight of this box, it was just bulky. I'm getting close to my turn by this point, and instead of going to the back of the queue, she stands next to me. Not really thinking much of it, I just continue to wait to be called. Side note, the lady at the counter wasn't particularly paying attention to the queue, just calling next up. It gets to my turn, and the lady jumps in front of me and takes my turn. I let it go, Christmas spirit and all that. She gets served, and as I moved forward to take my turn, another lady who had stood at the side of me with lots of parcels while waiting for the previous lady to be served. Problems with the equipment arose, so it took a while. She tried to take my place again. I just said to the person behind me, "Excuse me, but am I invisible today? Can you see me? That's twice now I've been queue jumped." He laughed and said, "No love, I see you." The lady at the counter looked up at the queue at this point, and I'm guessing she heard my exchange with the guy. She shouted at the lady to join the queue properly. The lady huffed and said, "But I need to send this lot." Counter lady then replied, "So take your place like everyone else or you're free to leave." Parcel lady then tried, "But I was here first." The guy I spoke to then shot back with, "No you weren't, she was," and pointed me out. Counter lady again gave her the option to wait or feel free to leave. Another side note, counter lady was the only one on the post office bit. By this time, the queue had snaked around the whole shop. Parcel lady then shot me the dirtiest look and called me something I won't repeat here, but let's just say it's not something you say to someone with disabilities in particular. And then went to queue up. On hearing this, counter lady says, "Get the heck out of my shop now, I'm not serving you." Not the words she used, but I'm keeping it PG. Parcel lady then says, "But the other place is miles away, it's not fair." Counter lady then shot back, "Don't care, not my problem, out now, or I'm calling the police." At this, parcel lady started crying and dropping her parcels. Not one person helped her pick them up. But she left, and I finally got to send off my parcel. Unfortunately, not the only experience I've had like this. With uncaring people, I've had bags to the face, people suddenly walking in front of my chair and getting bumped into when I couldn't stop quickly enough, kind of thing. Another time I went shopping with my hubby and we parked up in the disabled area. Legitimately, I've got the card etc. to say it's legal, and my hubby went to get my chair out of the car for me. When seemingly out of nowhere, this guy comes of nowhere screaming at him that he can't park there. My hubby ignored him. He's got the patience of a saint, that guy, and continued getting my chair. Side note, it was summer and a heat wave, so I had a strappy top on. By this point, screaming guy had got level with the side I was on, so I opened the door and just leaned forward. Now when I've got this type of top on, even if I didn't, there is no mistaking I'm disabled. I've got a very badly curved spine, scoliosis if you care to know. He was about to yell at me, but then I moved my hair so he could see my back. He went silent. I just looked at him, and even though I was trying not to laugh at the look on his face, I managed to keep a straight face and just said, "Disabled enough for you, sir?" Usain Bolt has nothing on this guy, the speed he ran off, lol. Didn't even get a sorry, but we got sore sides from laughing. Good for you. It was probably a childish thing to do really, but I didn't appreciate my hubby being yelled at. Just because he didn't have a visible disability doesn't automatically mean he didn't have one at all. He doesn't, by the way, and again, just because he doesn't, it doesn't mean that everyone else in the car hasn't got one. I might have been tempted to call out the idiot, but I had our kid in the car too and wasn't about to teach them the vocabulary that was going through my head, lol. Good lord. As if having your face at ass level to most people isn't bad enough. Fantasize about arm-mounted machine gun turrets and spiked wheels. It'll help. Sounds like you should mount an air horn on your chair, especially for entitled assholes. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.